Hi everyone, welcome to a trigonometry quick video on how to understand trigonometry, and that is using right angle triangles. So let me just give you a quick introduction of what is trigonometry. So you can use trigonometry to try and find missing angles and lengths of triangles. That is so we're going to look at right angle triangles. So trigonometry uses three functions, and these are called the sine, cosine and the tangent, which are short for sine, cos and tan on our calculator buttons. So we'll work through looking at right angle triangles. Okay, so first of all, to be able to do trigonometry, it's very important that you are able to label the sides correctly. So before we can use them, okay, so remember, we've probably known this from Pythagoras, the longest side is always called the hypotenuse. Okay, so that is always the hypotenuse. It's obviously labeling the other two sides. Okay, and that is also determined on where your angle sits. So for example, if the angle is here, that will determine where your opposite is. So the two other sides are called the opposite and the adjacent. So this one, as we can clearly tell, is the hypotenuse. Wherever the angle is, you look from that is called the opposite, and the other one will be the adjacent. Okay, so as follows, so that will be opposite and adjacent. But what if the angle's on the other side? Okay, so therefore the opposite will now change to the bottom, and then for the adjacent will be on the other side. Okay, so it's really important. It all depends on where your opposite and adjacent will be based on where your angle will be. So let's look at an example. So before we look at an example, it's always remember SOHCAHTOA with trigonometry, and the way I kind of remember it is using the pyramids, and I think the pyramids is the most important part, and we obviously use this for speed, distance and time. So you've got the sine, which is SO, you've got cos, which is CA, and then you've got tan, which is TOA. SOHCAHTOA, that is the main thing that you've just got to remember, is SOHCAHTOA. Okay, and once you remember SOHCAHTOA, it's easier to be able, because the ones in the middle will always be the ones that are raised. Okay, so let's look at an example. So here's a sine example. So we're obviously trying to work out this length here. We've got the hypotenuse, and this is where my angle is. Okay, and that is my opposite. So because we've got the opposite and the hypotenuse, we look at the sine pyramid, so we put that down, and you just write that down. And because I'm trying to work out the opposite, I will cover up the opposite. So now I know this means I've got to do sin multiplied by h. Okay, so what is sin? So on my calculator, I'm going to write sin 42 multiplied by 7, and that will give me my opposite, and that's 4.682 dp. Okay, so let's look at a cos example. Okay, this time we are trying to work out the one at the bottom. Okay, this is my opposite where the angle is, but there's no number on the opposite. That's my opposite. Okay, there's no angles there, so I don't really need that, so I'm going to rub that out. Okay, here I've got a number here, and that is my adjacent, so I'm dealing with the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm going to write my cos pyramid, and I'm going to cover up the length that I'm trying to work out, and I'm trying to cover across the A, and it's going to be cos multiplied by the hypotenuse, which is cos 53 multiplied by 9, which gives me 5.42 centimeters to 2 dp. So if I look at a tan example, okay, so this again is my angle, that's O, that's my hypotenuse, which is longer, but that is my A at the bottom. So again, I'm dealing with the opposite and adjacent. So this is looking at the tan pyramid. Okay, this time I'm working out what A is, so I'm going to cross my A out. So it's going to be opposite, which is 21, divided by tan 35, sorry. And then that gives me 29.99 centimeters to 2 dp. Okay, so lastly, I want to tell you that you can also work out the angle. Okay, like I said at the beginning of the slide. But what you've got to remember is the sin theta, the opposite of that, if you press the shift, and then that will give you sin minus 1. Cos minus 1, tan minus 1. And that is when you've got to work out the angles. These are working out the angles, okay? very important, these are the ones that are working out the angle. Okay, so let's look at an example. So first, find the size of the angle, which is here, and round your answer to 180p. So you've got to make sure that you label your size properly. So look at 5, that's where the angle is. Look at that 5, that is your O. This one is your adjacent. So we've labelled our side O and A. Identify which one, sock, cat or tower. Okay, we're dealing with tower, so I'm going to put the tan pyramid again, but this time I'm trying to work out the angle. Okay, so I'm going to write tan of the angle is equal to 5/9, which is O divided by A. So I do tan minus 1, okay, of 5/9, which gives me 29.05 and 29.1. Hope that makes sense. So that's a quick run through on trigonometry. Thank you. Bye.